And we are live. Hello, world, and everyone else. We are live with a group of certified ULA coaches. And these certified ULA coaches are here tonight to impart to you their knowledge of how to help your family be a success and to be a family that loves each other and grows together with each other. And these coaches have lived through it and have done it, and they've figured it out. And they're going to tell us their stories. They weren't always so wonderful as they are now, possibly, and they might have had some hard times. And so they're going to tell us about those and how they learned to get through it. Our first coach tonight is Heather Hill. She is a certified life coach, an essential oil educator, a certified aroma freedom technique practitioner. You can't even get that on a business card. And she's recently retired from corporate America, but she has an extensive experience in employee training, instruction, management, and public speaking. And that is all from being a grandmother, plus in corporate America. So, Heather, tell us how you do it.
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you, Kevin. And family is actually one of my favorite things to talk about, but also sometimes, depending on what part of my family life I'm talking about, one of my most painful things to talk about. And so every time I hear the word family, I always think of that line from Lilo and Stitch, where Lilo says, Ohana means family, and family means no one gets left behind. Most people are familiar with that line, but the conversation actually continues in the movie to include, but if you want to leave, you can. I'll remember you, though. I remember everyone that leaves. So everyone has a family story, and some people have nothing but fond memories and wonderful experiences when it comes to their family, but many people do not. And I want to share, I love quotes, so I'm going to share another quote. And this one is from the ULA for Women book by Virginia Satir, and she's a family therapy pioneer. And she says, feelings of worth can flourish only in an atmosphere where individual differences are appreciated, mistakes are tolerated, communication is open, and rules are flexible, the kind of atmosphere that is found in a nurturing family. So what if your family memories are not as idyllic as presented on TV or in movies, or even as wonderful as your friends describe? There's many, many ways to form a family these days, but for the most part, a family consists of parents, siblings, spouses, children, extended relatives, if you've been raised by grandparents, co-parents, stepchildren. Really, it's anyone who is bound to you by blood, marriage, or adoption. So for me, growing up, my family situation was, to put it mildly, less than ideal. And it was quite toxic and an abusive situation. And the specific details are not important here. Many people have a chapter of their story that they don't read out loud. And my chapter was worse than some, and perhaps not as bad as some others. I never had friends over to my house when I was younger. And when I would go to my friends' houses, that's when I would see how different things were for other families and how a family dynamic could be. So I made up stories to tell others about how wonderful it was at my house, and nobody ever knew. And as I grew up, I would dream of this perfect family life that I would have when I was older and on my own. And of course, there is no perfect life or perfect family. Who defines a perfect family, right? A family takes a lot of work and patience on everybody's part. You can't just wish for things to be perfect and have it happen. So as I got older, I did what I could to get away from my family as soon as I could. And that involved getting married quickly after meeting someone and starting a family quickly. And of course, my search for that perfect family was not fulfilled. I did have 3 children during that marriage, 2 of whom are still with us, but the marriage itself did not survive. And there's really no blame involved. It's just what happens when a relationship is not cultivated or nurtured or even valued. So here is where I feel I need to just kind of clarify that I'm not a counselor or a therapist of any kind, and what I'm sharing with you are just some ways that I've used certain processes from the ULA framework to work through the experiences and trauma of my past family relationships to move into, a place of loving and supportive and nurturing family relationships. But it was not an easy road. When you come from a place of such toxicity and have lived with those kinds of relationships, where do you learn the right way to be with people, to have those great relationships that you want? As children, we learn from what we see. And it wasn't until I started working through ULA that I really looked at those relationships, those past relationships, and realized that I couldn't keep telling stories about them or pretend that those things never happened. I had to face them and deal with them and move on from them and get to a place where I could have the healthy, loving, nurturing relationships that I needed and that I deserved. We, as humans, we need each other. We need to give love. We need to be loved. We need that close connection that a balanced and growing family provides. So how do you grow in the area of ULA family? You might be thinking, well, my family's fine. We hardly fight. We go to all this kids' sports games and we attend church. Everything's fine. But remember, when you're thinking of ULA family, what you're looking for is a family that is loving and patient and supportive and respectful, a family where nobody harbors harmful secrets or hurt feelings towards each other, a functional family where honesty abounds and thinking of your family members makes you happy. Just getting through your day, rushing around to sporting events to come home exhausted and disconnected from each other because you're really too busy to talk to one another. I mean, is that a balanced and growing family? Probably not. So for me, before I could even think about attempting to build another family, my first step was to forgive. I had to forgive myself for not having the courage to speak up at the time. I, for years and years, blamed myself and thought everything that had happened to me was my fault because I didn't have the courage to say anything. Then I had to forgive the person that harmed me, and that took a really long time. It's actually something that I've only very recently been able to confidently say that I have forgiven them. And the hardest part about it was having to forgive someone who's not even here anymore. And then I had to forgive the other person who knew what was happening and didn't protect me. So forgiveness was huge and difficult, but because of ULA and following those principles, on the other side of forgiveness, I've found this peace with all of it. My family story is my family story. It literally is what it is. And now, of course, now I have a perfect family, right? No, I do not have a perfect family. But what I do have is a beautiful family. I have a beautiful family. I remarried and had another child who will be 20 in November. I'm not sure how that's possible, but my 2 oldest children are married, and I now have 5 grandchildren who are the smartest, most wonderful humans to ever walk the face of the earth. Now they are perfect. Sorry, Kevin. Yeah, I really do feel my grandchildren are perfect. But listen, families come in all different shapes and sizes, and some are wonderful and some are not. Just know that you're loved and you're strong and you're created for greatness, no matter what your situation. You're deserving of the loving, nurturing relationships with your family. Just be committed to setting boundaries and asking for help if you're in an unsafe condition or situation. Family means no one gets left behind, but it also means if you want to leave, if you need to leave, you can. That's it.
Thank you, Heather. Now, you are so young looking that there's no way we would think you had 5 grandchildren, except that you know the movie Lilo and Stitch.
Right.
That's a giveaway right there. And of course, I would have to beg to differ with you whether your grandchildren are the perfect ones.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's okay. You might have to just disagree. Okay. Uh-oh, somebody's chiming in here. Let's see. Oh, okay. Somebody you know, I think. Yeah. That was a great story. Thank you for sharing that. That takes a lot of guts to share that kind of information, and we appreciate you sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Because now we know that we don't have to be perfect. We just have to keep trying and keep putting the principles into place that will help us to be nice and loving towards each other.
Right.
Right. Okay. Our next speaker featured tonight is Sheila Tam. And she's a Chicago native with a passion for healing and helping others. She has made a career change. And for the last several years, she has been a stay-at-home parent who is also a licensed massage therapist. And this all happened in the midst of a divorce years ago. So by herself, she's been raising 3 children while relocating 4 different times during the last decade. A lot of immense change has equipped Sheila to get with a lot of coping skills and helped her be able to handle the unexpected. And she's going to share some of those skills with us as she tells us her story. Sheila, take it away.
You always put me after like really good people. I'm like, what can I say after that?
Sheila, you're really good people too.
Good. I mean, it just was like so absorbing your story. And I think the one takeaway, by the way, that I have from that we forget is when we're kids and we go to other people's houses and we see how their families are run. I'm not saying there was anything really bad about my family. I had a nice, fair upbringing, good upbringing, but definitely had the same kind of situation in terms of I didn't have a lot of friends over at my house. And I think that really affects how I'm parenting my kids because we model a lot after our own experiences. And so I just want to say that I do work full time, but when I'm a stay-at-home parent, meaning my kids are kind of old enough to be home alone. So I'm not like, I don't have like all these little kids running around the house, and I'm a massage therapist and I'm a single mom, and their father does help out. He's a really good dad. So I just want to clarify, I'm not all on my own. He's a great supporter. He spends, a fair amount of time with the kids. I think we all know, in the family dynamic, the women, no matter if you're married, divorced, separated, whatever your situation is, single mom, not by choice, meaning maybe the father just deserted the family, whatever the situation is, the wife is always doing more work. And it's just because this is, it goes back, hundreds of years. This is just, how it works. We always put ourselves in these situations where we say yes to too much, and we feel like we need to do it all and have the great dinner cooked and keep the laundry going and have the job and make sure the kids are happy and they're having play dates and they're getting to their activities. And, it's just, I think for me, I burnt out really quick. I burnt out more being a stay-at-home mom. And now that have been a single parent for, over 7 years, I now have more of a stability in the way that I operate because I've learned, like you said, to set like really good boundaries. So that's been, one of my lessons in being a single parent and having time with the kids. Now, the problem with that, and leads into my story, is for those that were watching some of the earlier shows that Kevin did a few weeks ago, I went into some detail about how my mornings used to be, even just a few years ago when I was in a debt cycle. I was exponentially working, harder and harder to eradicate that debt. And it came with a price. It came with a price of my health. It came with a price with my family, my relationships. And I was always on the go. I was always doing something, always busy, always moving from one place to the next. And I just, I just burnt out very, very quickly. So what really came out of that, the blocker that came out of that the most was guilt. Like there was, in one way, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, this serves a purpose. I'm not going to eat dinner with them because I'm trying to pay off more debt. So that's good, right? But then I'm seeing their faces when I walk out the door, and I'm seeing them say, "It's okay, mom. Like everything's going to be okay. We're fine." And I know it's really not. Like I know that's not okay. And so there was just a lot of guilt in me. And please don't go. Like please don't work again. And I would do it, and I would try and just reconcile and forgive myself for why I'm doing this. And there was a lot of guilt over just not managing the household correctly, efficiently enough. Like, why am I having to do this all? Like, why am I in this situation? So there's a lot of blame, a lot of guilt. And then there was a period of like reconciliation where all the debt was paid off. And, about a year ago, and I just felt really good and felt really happy. Okay, now I'm going to focus on my family. And I just want to express to anyone out there who is a mom, like, don't, if you feel guilty, like there's a difference between a season and a lifestyle in ULA. Season is just like more of a temporary situation. Like, it's a means to an end. And a lifestyle is when you continue to live beyond that season for more than 3 years, it becomes your lifestyle. And then that's when you truly have made a decision on, this is how I'm going to live. And I knew this was not how I wanted to live. So I had spent the better part of the last year trying to like recoup with my kids some of their trust and some of their, belief in me. I don't want to cry, but like that I'm a good mom and I'll be there for them. And so kind of went the other direction. Like I put a lot of effort into the family. And so I needed to get that balance with my friends and having fun too. So COVID was a huge wake up call, like huge. And I'm sure it was for many families. Because I did not have to be on the go for my job, for a set amount of weeks, I was actually very relaxed. I was like very relaxed and very present. And one day it hit me really hard. Like one of my youngest, she came up to me and she's like, actually two of my girls came up to me and they said, Mom, you're just a nicer person. Like you're just, I don't know, you're being really kind to us. And we just feel it. And I thought, oh my gosh, how have I been all these other moments? I thought I was being such a good mom and didn't realize what I perceived as my reaction to them was exponentially a lot more. So if I was stressed, they were reading that and feeling that. If I was in a hurry, they were stressed and reading that. And I actually didn't realize how much my actions and behavior were affecting them. I think as parents or spouses, like so like Heather said, family is, it's everything, right? It's your grandkids, it's your spouse, it's your ex-spouse, if you're dating, it's your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your person you're engaged to, it's your children. Like that's your family, like your inner circle, the people that you rely on the most. And you really don't want that to be toxic. Like that's really the heart of, who you have to spend the most time with. And so when I realized like what I was doing to them, like I was creating a toxic environment in my home by not handling myself, and being present for them and really attuned to them. And I'm not talking about how was your day while I'm cooking dinner. I mean, like really looking them in the eyes and waiting for them to finish a sentence and being present. So I'm going to give you guys 7 tips, like based off of some of the things that, I feel have been really helpful. Some of them have been my ULA goals for ULA Palooza, for my ULA family. And I also just wanted to share Ready, Set, Go is a tool that we use a lot when we coach. And Ready is, just naming the blocker. So Ready is I feel guilty that I'm not spending enough time with my kids. And then the set is 2 scenarios. If I stay in the situation and I continue to move quickly and make money and pay off debt, my kids are going to feel disconnected from their parent. We're not going to have a very healthy home environment. And then what would happen if I change that? If I change the way that I am behaving and I make more time for family, we're going to have, a legacy where we can look back and cherish some times that we were together instead of leaving them with a legacy of a stressful childhood. And then the go is the action that I'm going to take. So one of the commitments I made during the past couple ULA Paloozas, and we're still working on, but it's just making more family time and having meals together. And there's some others I'm going to share, but that really, the mealtime is like the heart, I think, of the day, because you have these anchors in your day. We all need anchors, like how we begin our day, how we end our day. And then sometimes lunch can be an anchor, like just taking a moment to have lunch, go for a walk, listen to some music, like just do something to relax for a few minutes. And so we can move on and transition to the afternoon work day. So our anchor, our family time is our anchor, as part of our anchor at night, part of my anchor at night. And we haven't been so good about what the anchor is. It used to be that we would watch Friends, like all during COVID. We used to, Friends is just psychologically been proven to lift your mood. And my kids, everybody loves it. It's not a show we fight over. They can watch 100 reruns and love it. So that became our thing during COVID. And that just brought so much love and consistency, and just everyone would go to bed after that. And it was a very relaxing way to end the day. But anyhow, I just wanted to say that's something that you can do if you find yourself like in this process of feeling blocked. You can just do the ready, set, go, and then name that action and then do it, like stick to it. Okay, so just 7 tips, because 7's very ooh. So number 1 was like plan meals together. So, and when I say plan, it's not just like, okay, we're gonna have, pizza, we're gonna have macaroni and cheese, but like really plan a meal. Like we have a notebook we keep in the kitchen. I ask the kids every week, I go grocery shopping on the same day, and I ask them, what would you like to see this week in the meals? Like, what would you guys like to have for dinner? And they get input. Now that they're not eating lunch at school, for example, we need to get a little bit more for lunch. So it's that communication and really asking them, being attentive. What do you want? And then making the meal. Like tonight, my daughter made the rice, my son made the main dish, and my daughter also made the side dish. And we were all in the kitchen at different points, rotating and doing our thing. And so we're actually in each other's presence, may or may not be talking, but it's really nice to just be together in the kitchen. And then having cleanup time together, so that mom's not left to be in the kitchen alone doing dishes. So they have to help with that too. So number 2 was just planning an activity together. And it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to cost money. This could be like an ULA fun goal and ULA family. I combine my goals a lot. So just going on a walk together. My son and I have, during COVID, we just got into this rhythm of going on these long walks together, taking the dog out for long walks, and you go bike riding. You could, in the colder months coming up in the fall and the winter, we do game nights where we just take out puzzles. We take out Rummy Cube. We just have all sorts of like quirky games that we like to play as a family. And even just like 15 minutes, then you'll saying, oh, we're just going to do this for 15 minutes. And it ends up being a half an hour and you can't stop. And that's when you know you're really in it and you're engaged. So you don't have to worry about time. Don't think it's going to take up even just 15, 20 minutes touching base with your family with a game or watching a show is a great way to connect. The third was to have a meal together. So you've prepared the meal, but actually have a meal together. Could be breakfast, lunch, dinner, at least once a day. Still fine. Like a lot of the good conversation will happen around the dinner table. And this is for people that have families. And if there's people out there, if you're single or if you're just a couple, hopefully you guys, have dinner with your significant other or your grandkids, a couple times a week. And hopefully your significant other, you guys get to have dinner every night. Have a set time of day that's just your family time. So I feel like you need to actually say when that time is going to be. So if you just say, oh, we're going to have 30 minutes of family time, the whole day could go by, and then maybe they have homework at night, or maybe, someone has an activity and they have to go. So in our heads, like, so tonight before we got on, we finished our family time together. Thank you, Heather. And then I told them I'm getting on this live, and as soon as I'm done, like that's our couch time. Like we're going to probably end up watching Friends because it's the only thing we all agree on. But we're going to have couch time and watch TV for at least half an hour. So they know that it's a reward for me kind of leaving dinner and leaving the kitchen is we're going to come back together and do that. Number 5 is like turning phones off and have like set times for bed, and the phones shut down at that time. So, as Kevin knows from the other shows that he's done here the past few weeks, like I started to shut down my girls' phones. By 10 o'clock at night, they just shut off. Like they can turn them on for emergency calls only, but they can't access. And my son's not tied to his phone. I'm tied to my phone, but I also kind of mute my phone down around 10 o'clock. Sometimes it's 10:15, 10:30, but yes, it's 10 o'clock usually. And then it's like lights out, we're getting ready for bed. I really believe like social media is like, and smartphones are the silent killer of families. Like I think more than anything else, more than like drugs and alcohol and all that. Cause I think that's where all these behaviors are stemming from, the connections that kids are making with all these people on their smartphones and texting and Snapchat and all that. I think if your kids aren't on the phone and they're spending more time with their family, they're going to have those value systems that you are setting in place. They're going to have the anchor to know 10 o'clock is bedtime. When they go into college, maybe they won't, go to bed at 10 o'clock, but maybe you have set such a routine that they won't want. My son and I were actually just having a conversation tonight. He works with someone privately, just to talk about, how to deal with all these transitions because he's going to college in 2 weeks. We were just talking tonight. We actually had to cut the conversation short so I could get on here. So we're going to finish the conversation when I get off about that. He was given the idea of having anchors in his day from the person he was talking to. And so right now he's developing in his mind what he wants his anchors to be in college. And one of the things is he's going to work on getting to bed on time and reading a book before bed because that's his thing. Like he likes to read before bed. So anyhow, so having the phone time, the phone shut off, and having a set bedtime with your family. And even if you're in a relationship or if you're married, I think it's still really important. I know the naturopathic doctor that I'm studying for integrative health, like he says, like he and his wife, they have this thing, like they have their husband-wife time. They put the kids to bed. They have their husband-wife time from like 8:30 to 9:30 or 8:30 to 9. And then from like 9:30 to 10 is their reading time. And then they shut off the lights. So number 6 is plan time with larger family every couple months, meaning like, the grandkids, your parents or the grandparents, like that's so important. It could be a birthday, it could be a milestone. It could just, as soon as we end time, we're going to see my mom this Saturday. As soon as we end that time, by the time we're ending, we're automatically all talking and thinking about when is the next time we're going to see each other again? And what are we going to do? Because then you have that discipline to plan it, put it in your calendar, and it's there. And you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, 2 months have gone by and I haven't seen my grandkids. I know I'm hearing so much about the grands lately from everybody, like how much grandkids are making such a difference in the lives of the grandparents and just how much it brings them to life, and how disappointing it can be if they miss the opportunity to see their grandkids. So I'm going to look forward to my time when I get to do that. But in the meantime, even if it's your parents or whatever, just an aunt, uncle, someone that you really love that brings you good vibes, like make sure that you anticipate when that's going to happen again. And then number 7, we're going into the holiday season soon. So it's going to be, September for people who celebrate Rosh Hashanah. And then October is like, Halloween. And then we're on to Thanksgiving or Christmas before you know it. And it can become, I think, one of the most difficult times of year for people who either don't have good relationships with their family or they are in a good family situation. But again, the mom's feeling like, okay, I have to make the special holiday dessert and I've got to put up the tree and put up the special decorations and have all the special candies and decorations for Halloween. Oh, and I have to get costumes for the kids. And it quickly snowballs into this very stressful situation. So just like I would say in your family situation, keep the expectations really low for the holidays. And maybe just practice every year saying, you know what, maybe we could just get one gift for one person, each of us. We can figure out what that is. Or maybe this year for Halloween, like instead of like making costumes, we'll buy them. Or maybe for Thanksgiving, like we'll do potluck instead of mom cooks everything. Or maybe we'll order out or cater some of the holiday meal and then let mom only cook a couple dishes. And that just keeps it, balanced and fair, so because you want mom to enjoy the holidays and the grandmas to enjoy the holidays. And I think a lot of stressful situations during the holidays arise out of too much expectation on the host or the mom. So, and that takes a lot of the love and joy out of the family situation. So the last thing I wanted to end with is just the thought that came to mind randomly before I got on here, and that was making money over family time. And I would advise you, if you have the opportunity to make more money at the cost of spending less time with your family, it's not worth it. It's not worth the next nicest car or the bigger home, or because I've had both. And I am telling you right now, we are so much happier having less and being together more. So I think that's the greatest lesson I've learned in the past 7 years is that having less, being able to do a little less and having a little less is worth having the family time. Thanks, Kevin.
That's great, Sheila. Thank you so much for sharing. So many good comments are coming in about your speech just as you're talking. And we always appreciate hearing from you. You're special too. Okay, we are going to hear from next Justin and Becky Perry. Justin is Denver firefighting for the last 12 years. And Becky has been a professional mom for that same time. But she's also, since moms like to multitask,
Yes.
right, Becky? She's also a ballet dance instructor, a blogger, and she works closely with a charity called Shoes for Africa. Very important, I bet. They're the parents to 4 children, and you may see their children just appear on the screen while they're talking. I don't know if that'll happen or not. It does.
We spend them with their lives tonight, so.
But evidently, Becky and Justin told me they were actually on the brink of divorce, and their world was actually falling apart. And they were able to save their marriage that was riddled with everything and restore balance through the ULA framework. And now they are stronger than ever. And they're going to tell us all about it. Take it away.
Let's see, do you want the whole story or the short version? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so yes, we're Becky and Justin Perry, and we live in Parker, Colorado. Like Kevin said, Justin's a Denver firefighter, and this actually will be the first year in 8 years that I have not taught dance. I decided to take a year off. But don't worry, Kevin, I have more things that I've added to it. So, again, with the multitasking. No, we actually really were like 18 months ago. And I'm sorry, Heather, you already heard this story. But anyways, Santa brought us the ULA books, and I never thought he would read it. And I thought he would use it for a coaster on his nightstand. But he surprised me, and we were driving along, and he said, to preface this, we had just built our dream home out on 5 acres, and it was beautiful. We had gorgeous views of downtown Denver, and herds of deer that would come up on the driveway every morning, and I mean, it was beautiful. However, we were driving along one day, and Justin said, I think that we should sell the house. And it basically was like a knife to the gut and then twisted, counterclockwise, because I had put my whole heart and soul into designing this home from the outside to the inside. I did all the interior design. Justin actually built the house, so I was like, how could you let go of this or whatever? But to go back before that, Justin had some struggles over the years, and I'll let him tell you about that. But essentially he read the book, and it was interesting because I was down at a conference in Phoenix for Young Living, and I met the ULA guys, and I really didn't know that they were that big a deal. Actually, I read their book, but I didn't really get it, I guess you could say. And so I walked up to him at the conference, and I was like, hey, I just want to thank you guys so much. Your book is great. It saved my marriage. And they were like, oh, do a Facebook Live with us. And so they did. And I often go back and watch that one from 18 months ago, because that's when we really truly started living ULA principles. And I got back from that conference, and I was okay with then putting the house on the market and knew that everything was going to be okay. And here we are, we, honest to goodness, like Kevin said, we are stronger, I feel like, than we ever had been, even through 4 kids and a few houses and cars, and now our first dog. We are surviving puppyhood. And so, but yeah.
It's interesting. So our story goes way back, more than a year and a half ago. I think with like most people, you get married, you start finding careers, having careers, going through school, doing whatever you're doing, and you just get caught in the daily grind. And I think with time, Dr. Dave says that if you're not working on your marriage, you're working on your divorce. And I think you don't always see that in a short amount of time, but over time, it kind of leads down that road. And I think that's where our story started. Like a lot of people's stories in their marriage is that we started living life, going to work, coming home. It was just the daily routine, and you get caught in that daily routine. You have kids, that adds to the daily routine. You're doing all these things for them. But you're not really focused on putting as much effort and time into relationships as is needed. And then over time, it kind of just builds up and it builds up, not really even recognizing it a lot. You know, there have been several times when Becky would have a breakdown. Not that it's bad or anything, not trying to be thrown under the bus, but it was wake up moments for me, where it was those moments that it really showed me that she wasn't getting what she needed out of the relationship. I wasn't listening as much or putting in as much effort and time into what she needed. And we noticed that we were almost just more roommates, and we were getting through life together, but not like thriving on the same page and thriving in our relationship together. And it was multiple times that we had these moments that we recognized that. And I think those are the aha moments that you really stop and think, well, where is our marriage and where are we at in that relationship? And where do we want to go from there? And so that's what I noticed from our family relationship, is that over time, it just kind of took that slope, you know, just getting through life. And then obviously led to moments where we were on the brink of divorce and trying to figure out what's next and what the next step is for us. Luckily, you know, I decided to read a book, which I hadn't done in a really long time, and I don't really enjoy reading. But I did. And from doing that, it helped me just to take a step back and to take a look and evaluate where we were at, and hard decisions, hard conversations, many days of tears and struggle and trying to figure out where we were at. But it was through those struggles of actually working through our relationship and trying to figure out together where we wanted to go and what we were going to do and what that looked like, that helped bring us to the point where we are today. You know, it was a lot of struggle, a lot of heartache, a lot of, like I said, a lot of tears and you know, difficult moments. But we were doing it together, and that was a big difference. Even though it was hard, we were doing it together. And I think that made a huge difference for our marriage. You know, I started to stop and not try to solve so many problems, but stop to listen and just hear what was going on, and then just to be there. And that made a huge difference too. Because I'm always trying to problem solve and make things better. And sometimes I just jump into problem solving mode that I'm really not listening to what's going on. And so that's made a huge difference for us. And working through this framework has been a big change for us and for our kids.
It's made all the difference in the world for our kids. Our 12-year-old actually has read 2 of 3 ULA books. And a couple years ago, we found on his phone, he would put a reminder in his phone that said, "I'm a bad kid." Or what were some of the other ones? Like,
yeah, he was just super negative.
He just had this, like, which he's incredibly talented. I mean, he's extremely smart. He plays the piano. He plays the cello. He's on the high honor roll. Like, he plays ice hockey. I mean, he's a great kid. He's super, super responsible. But we found out that some of these, you know, self-negative talk and stuff had been coming from some outside sources, not necessarily, I mean, because he doesn't have any social media accounts, but just from, you know, kind of being bullied or being told your only worth is if you do this and stuff by, you know, some different areas or whatever. And so we read the book, and now we have like really good conversations with him, and he actually like helps his friends too, being able to, you know, and his cousins and stuff. And so he really puts those to work in his young teen life. I know that Sheila does a lot with the ULA for teens and whatnot. But even our little kids, like, even just them knowing the word and knowing that ULA means balance and all the different other things, knowing that they were created individually, you know, by God for greatness and a purpose. And not that we haven't taught them that, but when they can relate it to, oh, this is what ULA is, and this is a good thing. And, you know, like the other day we had them over at Grandma and Grandpa's house, and Grandma and Grandpa have a couple of acres and a big pond that goes down the hill. And they have what they call ULA duck races. So they get the little rubber duckies and they put them up at the top of the stream, and they coach them all the way down. Come on, Ula duck, come on, Ula, you know, and stuff. But just to know that they're doing those things. And we actually, for those of you that are watching but don't know, Justin and I are actually Ula Dream Bug drivers. And just today, I took Miles to go get his hair cut because he's way too cool to have mom cut his hair before he goes to junior high. So I took him to go get a haircut. And while we were at the haircut salon, one of the gals came in and she's like, hey, that bug that I've seen online, it's in the parking lot out there and stuff. So I had Miles help me explain it to them. And then he was able to help them put some dream stickers on the bug. So we try really hard to involve our children in this so that it's not just something that mom and dad do, but something that they grow up doing and something that they can incorporate their way into their lives. And I think that's, you know, and their friends too. Like I've had to cut them off a few times on just randomly putting stickers on the bug because I'm like, learning how to jet ski is probably not an Ula dream. I mean, perhaps for a 13-year-old it is, but I'm like, you guys can't just, every time you come up with something, you can't just put it on the bug. So, you know, but they like to be involved with it in the whole neighborhood. I mean, we have kids in and out of this house from sun up till sundown. Sometimes I don't even know who's here because they'll just, hi, Mrs. Perry, how's it going? Or I'll find 2 or 3 kids in the pantry but that was the kind of home that I grew up in, where everybody was welcome. And sometimes it does get a little chaotic and, you know, and stuff, but it's fun. And, you know.
Yeah. Some of the big differences we've noticed is we take the time more together to just be together and share that time together, which has made a huge difference. Putting that time also individually into the kids, helping them feel special and more loved on an individual basis rather than just everybody all together. It really has made a big difference on helping them feel that confidence and feel a little bit more loved individually than just collectively as a family. And so that's made a big difference for us, is being able to work through things together as a couple and as a family, and involving the kids in our discussions and talking about ULA and relating those principles to their lives and how it works and helps them is really just helped us all. And it's something that's helped in our immediate family, just us and our kids, but it's also helped in our extended family and our relationships with siblings and parents and grandparents. And we've seen a lot of change that's just come through that, just by us trying to change our lives by living the framework of ULA. It's had far-reaching effects, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, like we've had family members that have asked us for, you know, how do I get a copy of that ULA book? Or like Justin's stepmom just yesterday told me, she's like, I ordered the ULA planner. I was like, oh, perfect. That's awesome. Like, you know, and stuff. And so, but they're all very, I mean, Justin's family especially is very, very supportive. I think my family still thinks I'm kind of wonky, you know, and stuff, but we're getting there. We're getting there, you know, and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we even had somebody, I don't remember who it was in our extended family. It might've been Justin's stepmom. She, you know, we were just talking one day on the boat at the lake, and she was like, you know, she's like, I don't want to offend you, but, and I thought, oh geez, what's she going to say? And she was just like, you know what? I've noticed like a 100% difference in how you guys interact together, how you interact with people individually, how you interact with your children. She's like, I just have seen so many positive changes. And it's interesting because she was just like, in the last 18 months, which, you know, that's when we, you know, read the ULA books and stuff, you know, and I mean, thank heavens that Santa procrastinated and didn't bring stocking stuffers, because a couple days before Christmas, that's how they ended up in our stocking. I was like, oh, I heard ULA, I guess it's good, you know, so I just ordered them from Amazon and they got there, but it really has been, it's just, and it's, I would say that ULA is contagious. And that's probably not a word I should use in today's society with everything going on, but it's a good thing to catch. You know, and a lot of my friends, like I have this one friend, Denise Grovo, and I feel like she's like my assistant coach. I really want her to become an ULA coach, but she's always like, hey, I booked you an event for the ULA bug. Or she'll be like, hey, I got all my friends to order these books. Now we're going to have a book club, you know, or like all these different things and stuff, you know? And so, but she's excited. And in fact, this afternoon, she was telling Justin and I, she was just like, I read that part about anger in the ULA book. And she's like, I don't think I can do it. I was just like, no, you can do it. You can do it, you know? And so, but it's just fun because it outreaches. You know, a lot of times I try to combine ULA friends and ULA family because we have a lot of people in our lives that we call family, that are friends that are like family. And so like it just has made all the difference in the world, and everyone sees a difference and they see the positivity, and then to see them start incorporating it into their own lives is like the greatest blessing.
Thank you very much, Becky and Justin. What a great success story. And it is so wonderful to hear how your kids are picking up the baton and just carrying it forward. That is amazing.
Or the rubber ducks.
Yeah.
But
or the rubber ducks. Yes. Rubber ULA ducks. So just to pick up on one thing that I heard Justin say, he said, I learned to stop solving all the problems and just listen. For any men that are listening out there, and I'm recording this so I can watch this again myself, your wife or your partner, your spouse is immeasurably more capable than you are, most likely. And she can figure out how to solve her problems. She just wants you to listen and hear her and try to understand all the things that she has to go through. Okay? That's my little words of wisdom. And so, with that statement that didn't need to be an introduction, but it actually is, my wife is going to start telling all of you about what it's like to have a blended family. We have 6 children, and 3 of those children are married so far. And thus, they have provided us with the greatest gift that can be given to a parent, and that is grandchildren. And we have 7 of those so far. But it's an ever-changing number. So has it changed tonight while we've been on the broadcast or anything? Okay, not yet. So we're still at 7 and holding. But needless to say, during this COVID pandemic, we're not allowed to be, all of us, to be in one room at the same time because we have a large family now. And so Darla is going to start telling you about what it's like and how you can have a successful blended family. Take it away, Darla.
Kevin and I, thanks. Kevin and I have been married for 14 years now. But I will tell you, one of the things so we didn't know ULA technically before we got married, right? And before we did our blended family. But everything we know about ULA is how we lived through our blended family, early family years. So ULA says, I am unconditionally loving, patient, and respectful. And that, I think, is how we did our early ULA family, and that's just how we do it now. So I will tell you one funny story that when Kevin and I got married, my voice is going all of a sudden. I've been talking all day, excuse me. When Kevin and I got married, we didn't live in the same town. So I sold my house and packed up my kids and we got married in San Diego, and Kevin flew out there and we got married. And then we had to drive all the way back to Texas. Let me just tell you, with 3 kids that decided they didn't really want to, like, whoa, wait, we don't really want to do this. And then did I happen to mention I had 3 dogs? And so he had 1 child with him, with the youngest. And so we had 4 kids that didn't really want to be on the drive. We had 3 dogs, and we drove however many jillion miles. So, and Kevin had a fever of 101 the whole entire trip. It was so lovely in sickness and in health. So since then, he's told me, honey, I meant my sickness, your health. I'm like, okay. So that's how we started our marriage. It was lovely. Anyhow, we have kids that are the same age. So his oldest and mine are 5 months apart. The middle ones are about a year apart. And the youngest ones are 5 months apart. So we had 6 teenagers when we first got married. They didn't exactly all live with us full time, but they were in and out, and many of them lived with us. And so one of the first things we were able to do, which we know that we're very fortunate and blessed that we were able to do this, is that I sold my home, he sold his home, or however, and then we got a home for all of us together. So our family wasn't invading his family's home. Does that make sense? Or vice versa. So one thing, even if it's not a bigger home or whatever, it's nice that you can have an our home, because I think that really helps. So we do a lot of things like his, hers, and ours. So I will tell you, like, discipline-wise, like, you do yours, I'll do mine. Life lessons, bigger things, or school homework sometimes, that kind of stuff, you do yours, I'll do mine. But then the entertainment and the family and the fun and the eating meals, we did as a family. So we had ours. And I think that's how we got together. And, the kids are great kids. And so we had a pretty, I don't know, like Heather said, it could have been worse. It could have been better. It wasn't perfect. We had some days, boy, I tell you. But
you used to have a full head of hair.
and I tell my kids, you owe me wrinkle cream and hair color. This is what you're doing. So unconditional love, patience, and being respectful, and teaching them to be the same. So a lot of times we forget in our family, we teach our kids to have good manners when they're out and about, but you have to remember to teach them to be respectful and have good manners on the inside of the home too. And I think that's a really big lesson for a lot of families. They forget, and they think they can treat their family with different rules or different respect or different manners. And that's not always the best way. And, our kids have been in divorced lives, and it's a hard thing for kids to live through a divorce, and too many kids know that. And I think for Kevin and I, we have just been loving and kind and respectful to each other. And we have a very happy, very loving relationship. And that's so key for the kids, to be able to have that as a role model, to be able to see that that's how it's supposed to be. And I know that they're so fortunate to be able to see that that's how it's supposed to be, because Kevin and I certainly didn't have that in our previous life without each other. So we know that blended families are difficult, but they can also be amazingly wonderful too. So we love all of our kids. We love all of our grandkids, and we have lots of fun stories to tell about it. So, but if you're really struggling and you need help with blended family and how do you do this or that, we have experience in that. We have experience in being single parents. I think that's part of why our marriage is so good, because we have all this single parent time and hardship and unloving homes before. And so we just know how to live it. And so ULA just brings it all together and, has it all concise in an ULA book for everybody. So I think it's really awesome. And I love everybody else's family stories. And you guys, there's ULA coaches, and we've been around the block, and we're here to help you. So any kind of a ULA family story that you think you're struggling with that nobody can help with, it's just simply not true. And I tell you, one thing that you need is good support. And if you don't have a good community and good support, reach out to one of our families, because we're happy to help you. And we love to get together with different ULA coaches, because we know that we have strength in numbers, and all of us have different specialties and different gifts that we can all help you out with. So don't be shy. Come on up. We're here to help you.
That's right. Thank you so much, Darla, for sharing just a little bit of our story. If we tried to share the whole thing, we would be here all night. So we're not going to do that to you. So everyone tonight on our panel has read this book, ULA, Finding Balance in an Unbalanced World. And they followed the principles, and it helped them in their marriage and their family. And they loved it so much, they all became coaches of that framework. And they can help guide you through that same framework that they learned to use in their family and all the areas of their life. So we will post a link that you can find everyone, all the coaches across the nation and across the world, to the bottom of this video once it's been saved. And we'll also post a link that you can buy this book if you'd like to read it yourself. And we would hope that you would investigate, and you would certainly buy the book and read it. And if we can help any of you in any way, please reach out and let us know. And with that, we'll say goodbye. Have a great evening, and we'll see you the next time.
Bye, everybody.